the idea that talent is everywhere and opportunity is not. It's the machine for building that bridge over that 7,000 mile stretch that creates the value, that builds the trust and allows the remote professionals to shine for the clients. I think that's the goal. So I love building that every day. And I love relying on it, as you have learned to love to rely on it as well. Good stuff all around. Go Kayana.
It's a testament to the power of our teamwork and high standards we uphold in Kayana. I'm really excited about what lies ahead, discovering the possible, as what our podcast title is. We will continue to evolve and adapt to the changed needs of our clients.
We are at the nexus of something greater. This is our story about building a remote-only company that spans the entire globe. This is the future of business, technology, and global remote work. You are watching Discovering the Possible.
We are basically arguing whether or not websites would be replaced or whether websites would be useful at all because of AI and AI search and how AI agents will actually go out and find information for you, interact directly with the company's AI agents, and generate outcomes that you would otherwise not be able to have on a website, or it would be incredibly complicated to develop.
We had at least one session, a long one too, trying to imagine what the future of search and websites are going to be. And it was far ranging. I still think that it's going to be very different than what we see today. It's going to probably taking a little bit more time to get there than I think we initially thought, because when we talked about AI, back then was 8-10 months ago, things were changing. Back then it was a lot more mysterious, just how fast things are going to change. Some things did change just as fast as we thought it would change, and other things are taking longer. But reimagining what websites might be in the world of AI is still a very much an interesting topic, and I think we definitely want to revisit that one day.
You guys know that we entered a strategic partnership with a company called Boodlebox AI. They're a wrapper on all the foundational models. It's probably the wrong term, but they allow people to collaborate across these foundational models, allow you to bot stack, which I don't think was originally in our heads at that time, but we're using these tools to train and put human in the loop into AI. And I really see that as an endless possibility in the terms of human capital and training to educate people. Like, we're dorks about this. But and as much as we think everyone's using it, I'm introduced to people every single day. They're discovering like the things I learned about 2 years ago. And companies that are waiting and seeing to see what's going to happen instead of experimenting and playing with it now. Would you guys have any recommendations for people thinking about how work is done today versus yesterday? And where would they start? Me, personally, I think of three things. I think of remote professionals interacting with interconnected SaaS platforms that are also connected to AI and data. But you guys interact with companies every day. Where are they? And what do you tell them?
I think it's very different depending on what your job is and what you're trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis or long-term in your project. Like for us, my team of developers, we tend to use AI to do a lot of coding. And so for us, we're not looking at no-code solutions. We're looking at full-code solutions and how AI can help with that. So for a company like ours, where we're more coding heavy, right, we have a different set of AI tools to look to, and that changes our workflow, right? So we're actually slowly morphing from a company where we have people doing the coding to people orchestrating the coding. And that's very different. And the skill set is changing. I was just telling my developers the other day, we actually have an advantage over the future generations because we know how to hand code everything because we had to. And this is similar to how people back in the days know how to code in assembly language. You guys might not know what that is, right? Machine language. And if you know how to code machine language, using other languages like C++ is a lot easier because what's underneath, right? Likewise, today, developers who knows how to hand code already, which is everybody who's at least mid-tier and up, or even entry level, they know how to orchestrate with AI better. They know how to code better right now. The future generation who's going to grow up with AI hasn't hand coded, won't hand code, and really only know how to tell AI what to do. Now, AI is going to be super powerful later, for sure. But still, knowing the underlying language of or underlying skill of how to code is really important. So to answer your question, for me and for my team, the workflow changes, so the tools we look for changes, and how we integrate that into what we do and how we generate revenue and what kind of projects we go after is very different.
Wow, that's very interesting. Milt, you're affecting the youth now, right? You're talking to young people and businesses.
Yeah.
All kinds of.
I think every subject matter expert in this area, I think it has always come down to finding that first use case. And where is it going to help you in day-to-day work, and then literally just immersing yourself and trying it, right? So if I connect that back to an example of leveraging help, Chris, from your team, I'll show an interesting example of then work disruption that basically has happened that would make me reconsider how I would leverage a future VA if that opportunity ever presents itself, right? So
Sure.
Part of my work transition that you saw, because these Traction Lab conversations, was me leaving corporate leadership roles in which then I just started teaching digital marketing. So knowing the subject matter is very different than teaching it, and providing the industry-backed material so that the students know that it is live breaking news in the world of digital marketing requires a lot of research. Yes. So things that I asked my VA to do to help me research the latest trend and then put that into a slide deck to then use with my students. 6 months later, that task of researching the latest trend and then being able to then build content around that is now being replaced by a combination of a Google AI overview, a Perplexity AI search, and then embedded AI in Canva. So on one hand, that could be interpreted as, oh, that's replaced the need for a VA because that was tasks, right? On the other hand, it then moves up the value chain, the possibility for then me to augment resources, because just researching the data and having relevant sources to cite is totally different than creating a storyboard and how does that fit within the overall learning outcome. So that's an example where then I would want to reshape the future work engagement, that it's not just the research, because now that's happening within the AI tool. I would look for a different VA now to help me create the learning outcome in a different way.
Now, it's worth mentioning that Milt was one of our first clients, and we learned an important lesson, and we failed in front of Milt. And we failed in front of Milt because he wanted a part-time remote professional. And as much as I didn't want to do it, I'm like, let's try it. We'll see how it works. And you experienced the failure around part-time remote professionals, because ultimately then they have multiple masters and it's being very hard to manage. We don't do it anymore because of you. And I have to tell a lot of people this, so I'm excited to just say it out loud. Milt broke the system. We will no longer do and haven't done any part-time remote professional work after that time because we couldn't manage the quality. And we have to deliver excellence. So that's like an interesting tidbit. Now, when you're operating across the globe as we are, remote first, work from home, and all of our teams are distributed and our clients are distributed all around the United States, all overseas, and they're interacting every day. It's really wild study. And yet, if you're coming, because we don't have any physical, our website is our physical presence. But it's easy to say, does this company even exist? you are, at the very least, this would be a complete waste of your time if that kind did not exist. But it's understandable, right? Because newer businesses are always looking to figure out a way to establish credibility, to gain a foothold. When do you predict, based on all the things we talked about and all the things I've planned, when people will actually come to accept Kayana as a real thing, and that they won't be wondering, like, how big does a place have to get before, maybe it's before people look at the reviews and say, yeah, I believe it. Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? Gary, you built a business. How long was it before people believed the promises you made them?
If you have to put a timeline on it, I would probably say 2 years. They always say that most companies fail within the first 3 years. Now, that's really old school thinking. And I think everybody has a chance, especially a company like Kayana, which is built on remote. And you don't have the older traditional thinking of foot traffic and advertising and things like that. You have so many channels to garner eyeballs. I think maybe a better timeline might be how well you execute on your marketing plans. And you already do this. You showed us dashboards last time of your engagement with your various channels. You're doing the right things by watching those and improving on your engagement. And I think that will tell you. We don't have to tell you. You're going to know when you have a breaking point or a pivot in your engagement stats, and you're going to know.
Yeah.
If you don't already.
Yeah, I'll tell you, something happened to me 3 days ago that I haven't had a chance to chat with you guys about, which you'll find interesting. Is that, if you remember earlier this year, I made a trip out to the Philippines and I had all the internal team come together, and then we held a job fair and we had to promote that. In and around that same time, a Filipino-based company filed for trademarks in related classes, not exactly the same classes, and with the name Kayana. Kayana. They clearly were trying to surround it. And I thought that they were basically going to ransom me for the name, as to not create confusion. And I found out 2 days ago that, in fact, the company that filed, who mysteriously filed the trademark 2 weeks after we were marketing it, that they renamed one of the largest corporations in the Philippines after our company. And so it's creating a new round of uncertainty about if Kayana is real or not. Now, there's a new confusion, potentially, in that we were there first. And we don't do the same thing. I think this podcast becomes even more relevant now than ever. We'll see where it goes. It'll be a very interesting story. But everyone on my team receives power from this company. Their power grid is driven by, I think, Kayana, or at least the payment structures for it.
What are the trademark laws like in Philippines?
It's first to file.
It is first to file, but not first to use like it is here.
Not first to use. So now, you have to navigate all these different trademark rules. I filed in 20 different countries, and I'm taking a very different approach to this. But it's just another wrinkle in the question of, is Kayana real? Well, Kayana is definitely real, but what Kayana are we talking about?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be tough. Yeah.
No, it's a very interesting problem. Now, I have all kinds of strategies that I can't talk about right now, but the point is that we were there first, and I think they took all of our methods, and I'm excited to tell this story, not because I don't think we can't coexist. I absolutely think we can, but this story is yet to be told.
Yeah, your marketing charge over there is to be even bigger impact using the name than they are.
How can I beat like It's basically GE.
Are they making a gigantic marketing push for this, but with a new name? Is that, or
It's
is it a
huge
segment of the
company,
business?
Gary. It's a
They just
huge
renaming
company.
the entire company, not just
They
one
renamed
product
the
or
entire
service.
company Kayana. They stole it, and then they put it on their website, and they renamed it in the exact same way I came up with the name.
Might want a contingency plan here.
I have,
That's so funny. You can't make this up. It's so hilarious. I'm like,
I have lots of thoughts, but that'll probably have to continue into a different.
I need to put you in touch with my lawyer. Anyway.
I'm going to answer your original question, Chris, was then the when is it real question, right?
Yeah.
Is I'm going to bring it back to something that then I try to uphold. I'm not saying I always succeed at this, but it's a back to basics sort of marketing mantra rather than think of it in terms of establishing it in digital metrics or anything like that. All of that is equally important. Is I know one thing, which is then the business is real when customers are word of mouth referring other possible customers.
That is 80% of our business right now. So I guess we're real.
So that is, to me, the trust mantra in terms of reality is when you're getting word of mouth. And that can happen on a variety of timeframes. So if that's happening, that's what makes it real, because it's back to customers and serving customers.
The one thing that really galvanized Gary and Milt and I of the preceding segment, aside from the fact that we liked each other's humor and really bonded on a number of different things related to business, is that we all saw the promise of generative AI in our businesses. And for Milt, who's already in business, he saw AI as a way to start new and interesting businesses within his technology infrastructure. For me, it was a way for me to ideate and leverage these tools to go faster and to process data better. I was an analyst by trade for many years, and I saw these as incredible analytical tools, incredible programming tools. For Milt, it was actually a way for him to understand his trade, which was marketing and digital marketing, because he's a HubSpot expert. And digital marketing would be significantly impacted by AI, and he led the charge on this in our meetings, in our sessions, and has been in the center of that ever since. So AI was very much on the forefront of all of our minds. And the way I thought AI would come together in our business is as a way to process data. Because in the remote professional game, there's a ton of data that's coming in, and our job is to really understand it and to help use that data to match people together. Now, what we also realized, and this is probably even more impactful than that for our business, is that while it's really great to use generative AI to help understand a remote professional's background and to start the process of matching people, the bigger breakthrough was training remote professionals with AI and giving them the tools they need to perform and do prompt engineering in their day job. Because my theory was always that if the perception between a domestic worker and a remote professional was here, this was the delta in productivity or value. If you added AI to both of these things, the output would be very closely approximate. And that would expose the underlying cost benefit from working with a remote professional. And so if I armed some remote professionals with AI and they were able to generate the productivity that I knew they could when they were properly trained, basically it would be a secret weapon, if you will, in enormous productivity. And I always knew that if we had this army of people that were AI enabled or AI trained, that there would always be work for us to do. And then we'd always stay ahead of the fray. And in building out these training programs and using the right tools and having the right partnerships, we would definitely separate ourselves from our competition and really make it easy for us to try us and to see the value of working with a Kayana remote professional. So AI being fundamental to our business, we've done a lot of things that show up in how we manage remote workforces, how we automate our tasks, and then ultimately how we make that available to clients. And what I'd like to demo for you now is the infrastructure and technology infrastructure that we built so that someone who is exploring the idea of a remote professional or exploring it as a way to engineer a team can easily go in and leverage our tool to see what's possible. And in effect, pull back the curtain, which the agencies typically keep hidden, pull back the curtain on the people that are available and what they cost and what their capability is. What you're seeing right now is a demo dashboard of a client. And this is our client dashboard. And you have the opportunity to change dark to light themes, very clever. And we have a internal success representative. You might have people already on your team, and then you might have recommendations from our internal team based on conversations we had. The focus here, and we're looking at Rolinda right now, I want to show you what all the data drives. Now, as we synthesize the data of all of our prospects, it actually tags them in all their capable skills and all their capabilities and skills. And that allows you to create really detailed summaries of them. And so what you see here is a articulation of all the data we have on these folks, all the roles they've had, how we rate them in terms of their experience within those roles, the assessments that we have across their personality traits, their soft skills, and their fluency in English. And then ultimately a summary of all those things. And now also the data that's available to them. And then a price and whether they're available. We think that this allows people, if they know what they want, to evaluate people pretty meaningfully and then potentially interview them. But what if you're not really sure how to find people or if the database is big? What you can do is you go into the Hire VA section and you can browse by curated profiles. And the power in this is that you can actually do a search. So the search might be, I want to find someone that knows AutoCAD. Here are all the people with AutoCAD. Here's a civil engineer. Here's someone in marketing professional, which probably has an engineering background. And what you'll notice is, even in the conversation about these people, you'll realize that they have a background somewhere else, and they're also good at AutoCAD. And you might think that's like antithetical, but the careers of people overseas, especially people that are doing remote work, are very varied. And so you can see what we charge, and there's a whole story we can tell you about the pricing behind that. But you can see also their background. So avionics technology is where Carlos cut his teeth. And he has a bachelor's and an associate degree in avionics technology. These are amazing people. That's all there is to it. The other way to find people is actually, this is a more humble enterprise, is to find your match using AI. And here's what you could do is you can actually create a natural language search. So you can type in something like, I am an engineer by trade, and I love working with engineers of all sorts. I run a real estate company, and I need civil engineers if you have them. And then you can just type in sort. Now you could type in a whole bunch of other things, and you don't really have to constrain your searching. But then it'll go through all the data that we have on these people and bring up summaries of people with engineering experience and project management work and people that understand the business of real estate. And you can see there's a lot of them. There's so many talented people in the world. And as Kay, our AI bot, I guess you'll call her, the matched virtual assistants have relevant experiences that aligns with your requirements. The domain expertise includes roles such as project engineer, multi-plan project, mechanical engineer, project engineer, and operations management officer, indicating strong engineering backgrounds. These VAs have technical skills in project management, engineering, and operations. These are the types of people you want on your teams. These are bright people. Most small businesses would never be able to afford these people. And it turns out my first virtual assistant was a engineer as well. So that's the long and the short of it. Now, let's just say you don't know what you need to do or what your next step is or how to move on from there. You can actually just schedule a strategy call with our team, and they will run a process with you to build the job profile that you're looking for. And then you have a sort of an opportunity to actually get them to run those searches for you. This is especially useful when the talent that you're looking for is very specialized. So that's the platform. There's other tools that you have here as well. You can go into conversations and have conversations with a chatbot. These are highly engineered prompts that teach you how to manage VA teams and tailor VA solutions and maximize your ROI. There's reports that come out of these conversations that are very detailed. And then you can, of course, always talk to Kay directly, which becomes your personalized AI. And the more you talk to her, the more she knows about you. And of course, she also gets to know your own remote professionals as well. And I think that can lead to some very interesting conversations, as you might imagine. So there we are. There's Kay from Kayana. And that is the Kayana client dashboard. So collaboration is fundamental to generating great outcomes. But the question is, how do you do that with AI? And that's something we really wanted to focus on as an organization, because we knew that if we could share best practices and invite people into the business of prompt engineering, that we can get and reinforce this notion that Kayana was leading the industry in AI-enabled remote professionals. Ironically, when we talk to remote professionals, even today, there are a lot of agencies that don't allow their remote professionals to use AI. And then there are certainly very few that use it collaboratively. It tends to be an independent sport, if you will. What we're about to show you is from the original announcement for our strategic relationship with Boodlebox.ai. Boodlebox.ai is very unique in that, aside from the fact that it is HIPAA compliant, which manages privacy, it also allows you to collaborate across many different fundamental AI platforms or foundational platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, all the main platforms, but it allows you to do it collaboratively with your team. So within the feed, you can actually stack bots or stack foundational models, as I was describing earlier. So you can talk to ChatGPT and then talk to Claude and talk to Perplexity in that order. But then you can also collaborate as a team so that each individual can be working within the same chat together and providing feedback. This is my dream in training, is to allow trainees to come in and collaborate together. You're going to see how that works right now. Let's do a live demo. Are you ready for that?
We can do that. How about if I figure out a way to sell your firm? I would then probably pull a couple team members in to tell them what I had found and say, okay, where does our product fit in here? What do we think? We would do some brainstorming sessions. What I've done here is I've started a chat. And now what I get to do is I'm going to bring in Perplexity. For those of you who've not used Perplexity, it's trained on the web. I'm going to go pull the Kayana website. And now what I can do is when I go back to my chat, I just ask it, please provide me a summary. We have to be able to spell properly about.
You actually don't have to spell properly. That's the amazing thing.
Right. You're right. It just helps.
I know. I love it though. I'm like, such a godsend.
Now, keep in mind, this is a summary that it is provided. In the background, it has a lot more information. It took all of the information that is available publicly on the Kayana website, and it's now distilled it into a summary. But in knowledge, it still has all that in background. And so now what I'm going to do is our team built what we call the Boodle Bible. The Boodle Bible is about a 50-page document.
The context window, right? You're saying it's in the background, meaning once you ask it the question, you can keep moving, but it'll remember.
You're right. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this Boodle Bible, which consists of our tech specs. It consists of all of our use cases, the things we've done, the wins we've had, all of that, as to demonstrate how secure we consider this platform. There's a lot of proprietary information there I would not want exposed to the public. But I just loaded it in, and you can see the document. We can come up here and see that the document has been loaded. Right. And now what I can do is, I was using Perplexity. We call this bot stacking, is I can start to stack bots on top. And so now I can bring ChatGPT into the conversation, let's say. So I just go here, I select ChatGPT, and I say, can you provide me ideas on how Kayana could use Boodlebox? And now ChatGPT is in the conversation with us. It's going to go through, and it's going to start coming up with ideas. Now, again, for people who have not used generative AI, this is a first draft. This isn't meant to be a cut and paste, but this is an exercise that would take a normal salesperson probably another 30 minutes after the 30 minutes of research that they did on your website as they were researching you as a company. So now I've got eight ideas. And what's really great is, why consult only one genius when I could consult multiple geniuses? So why not bring Claude into the conversation?
Claude is better at language. Yeah.
Do you have any other ideas that are not mentioned above? So I'm not going to get Claude to repeat anything, but if there are other ways that we could use this, then let's ask Claude to do. And so there goes Claude with now, how many more ideas? 9, 10, 11, 12. So now between Claude and ChatGPT, I have 20 ideas that I could work with. Now, Chris, let's say I might need your feedback. Let's say you and I are on the sales team, and I want to pull you into this. I can go right here. I can copy this link. I can Slack it or text it or whatever over to you. And then you can pop into this conversation and start talking with me.
And I've just got it in the chat. Let me see if I can do that right now.
Are you in?
I am. How can I talk to you? What do I do?
First thing is just type /hi.
Hi.
And people will see you.
Hi, everyone.
And so you see Chris is here. You also see that I can see up here that Chris has joined the conversation as well. And so now if Chris wanted to say, pull in Gemini and say, hey, Gemini, do you have any other ideas not mentioned above? He would be able to do so and talk to the LLM directly.
I'm doing it. When we started Kayana, we knew we wanted to be excellent. We knew that there was a better way of organizing, that we felt we could really feature the remote professionals in a unique way so that they were not relegated to tasks, but they were more integral into the work of their clients and able to allow them to drive value and ultimately compensation. But to do that, we needed a method of operation that allowed us to create great accountability and reliability to our clients and to our remote professionals. So my first lead operator and hire was someone who work within the BPO industry, business process outsourcing for the people that don't know it, which is basically the factories of service that run the administrative elements of some of the largest Fortune 500 and 100 companies in the United States. Most of these organizations are overseas. They are not in the United States. They are in India. They are in the Philippines. They are in Colombia. They are in what are otherwise low-cost environments that are connected to the world through fiber optics. And the infrastructure and systems, aside from the technology to run that, is built within the people that operate these companies. These are people that think about Six Sigma execution. The operations of these companies are built with these people and their training, so they're constantly thinking about Six Sigma execution within a remote services environment. That's why many times we get the question in our TikTok lives, do we have time trackers? The answer is absolutely we do. Not only do we have time trackers, we have activity trackers. And all of this stuff leads to building and establishing trust with the clients and creating accountability up and down the chain so that we can deliver reliably to our clients. And now I want to talk to Stelle about how we use our culture to boost productivity and team efficiency. Stelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. It's good to be back.
Now, in business development, you interact with the operations team all the time. And not every operations team operates the same. And you've worked with some greats. You've worked with Harley and others. What's your sense of our operations team and how they work? And if you were to give people the tips and tricks on how to work with our operations team, what would you tell them?
Yeah, working with corporate jobs before, I also have experience with BPO, by the way. So I had BPO experience, corporate experience, and when I joined, I could really tell that our operations, the systematic way of us doing things, is what really sets us apart. It's amazing that we value productivity so much. We do have time trackers. Yeah, we have HubSpot. Everything is documented. We also do that because we want to tell our clients that we have managed support for the VAs that we hire for them. So it's also very beneficial for me because it makes me, let's say, keep on track, not being distracted with a lot of being in a remote first culture, Chris. Our laptop is in front of us. We could be distracted by YouTube. I could be distracted by anything else. But having that hub stop makes us think of work in a specific working hours. It's very good. And aside from that, it also helps me having someone like our head of operations, Mary, very systematic, very organized in a way that what needs to be done should be done, helps me a lot to be productive.
Right.
That's also really good. And when I talk to clients and give this value proposition, telling them, hey, we take care of managing and hiring for you, I could attest to that because I'm also managed and hired by our system.
Right.
Those things.
And that is interesting. All of our internal staff also use the systems our external staff use.
Yes.
And so we all see and can see how it works and the weaknesses and strengths of it. Now, when you started at Kayana, if you remember back to our last episode, you're talking about how productive you were and how you were generating a lot of work. And you, quite frankly, offered up a lot of changes of operating differently. How did that transition go with the operations team? And what did you learn in your entrepreneurial mindset about how to approach an operations-minded team?
It's an amazing journey, I would say, Chris. It's an amazing journey because it might be a factor that I'm used to be a one-man team where I need to plan, execute, and do all things on my own. So there was a time that I felt like I'm kind of resistant. Like, is this really helping me? Those kind of questions that made me also think, am I really adding value to the team? Am I being too much? Am I being too proactive? So where are you in the whole process? those kind of questions,
Right.
Chris.
Right.
But
And my recollection is that you create some friction with the operations team. Yes. And I thought that really spoke to the fact that we do have a rigor in the way we operate. So that if someone coming on the outside is trying to change things, even if it's the right thing, the right types of communication have to happen, the right types of handoffs need to happen. And having a strong operator means we're all better and stronger
right.
operators ourselves, I think.
I totally agree with that. And when we finally talked about the big elephant in the room, I made changes myself. I adjusted because I love how our system works. I don't have any doubt about it. It's
Right.
well, let's say, organized. And for someone like me that has this vision, like
Yeah.
I want to make this business grow my way. It's good to have that system intact. And when
Yeah.
we talked about that and have those changes not only improved our efficiency, it also boosts my productivity. I started doing sales outreach, thinking about what I need to do in a sales perspective. And it
Right.
also strengthened our team's sense of unity and purpose. Both the operations and the sales and marketing team, we became more agile, more connected, and more effective than ever before.
Right.
I wouldn't want it any other way. I love our
Yeah.
systems intact, Chris.
Yeah. I will tell you, our clients do too. So I had a really remarkable, I almost teared up. I had this consulting, a call with one of our clients who was looking for a way to be more productive with their remote professional. And this person, by and of themselves, this remote professional, was amazing. But what we learned from the data is that they were doing a lot of their tasks manually. And it was a change management session, if you will. And the client was like gushing over the value we were able to pull out of the data in a frank conversation between the client and the remote professional. I think having a system, having infrastructure, understanding how the data works, and then having your own operational principles too, really is not just appropriate for our business as a remote first business and one that's working across multiple time zones, but for any business. And it's a commitment to that excellence and efficiency that I would say I've learned from too.
I always tell you, Chris, we are our first testimonials. We are our own clients. Whatever systems we do, whatever processes we do, if it works good, then we can apply it to our next clients and make sure, tell them, hey, it works because it works on us. And we took diligent studies and research to make it work. This system can make your life easier. It made my life easier.
Absolutely. I think we live in a really rich environment, not just within our own company, but we also learn from our clients too, and their best practices and how they do
Right.
it. And so we're always integrating, we're also always thinking about new ways of doing things, interesting ways of doing things, and then letting them share it amongst themselves. So focusing in ops, in operations, in operating a company like this, which our operations team has shown and has developed in over decades, is the thing. And it's not just about the wage arbitrage. It's not just about the idea that talent is everywhere and opportunity is not. It's the machine for building that bridge over that 7,000 mile stretch
Mhm.
that creates the value, that builds the trust, and allows the remote professionals to shine for their clients. I think that's the goal. So
Yep.
I love building that every day. And I love relying on it, as you have learned to love to rely on it as well.
It's a testament to the power of our teamwork and high standards we uphold in Kayana.
So Stelle, looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of Kayana? What do you envision our agency evolving to? And where do you see growth happening?
I'm really excited about what lies ahead, discovering the possible, as what our podcast title is. My aspiration is for Kayana to become the go-to name in remote staffing and virtual assistance. I've been telling you, Chris, in this kind of year, we need to be the go-to remote staffing solutions, and I believe we can do that. We will be known for our exceptional service and innovative solutions, and we will continue to evolve and adapt to the changed needs of our clients. Possibly one key strategy is to leverage and advanced technology, which we are already doing, and leverage in our data analytics, our system and operations to enhance our service offerings and improve efficiency. I also envision expanding our global reach, tapping into new markets, building strategic
Right.
partnerships, those kind of things. We will also develop continuous learning and development for our team to ensure that we remain the forefront of industry and with our best practices. Sum it up, Chris, I would say the sky's the limit for Kayana, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you, Stelle, for joining us again. We hope to see it again on a future podcast just around the corner.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Bye bye.
Take care.